besties, my name is Maddie and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be going over my quarter one read. So that's all the books that I read from January to March. And in 3 months I read 9 books, okay? It wasn't that crazy. I just wasn't really feeling like reading anything, and everything that I did read didn't hit how I wanted it to hit. Like, I barely picked up a physical book. I think I only picked up one. I would read on my Kindle for a few days and then take a break. It was just not a good start to the reading year for me. So we are just going to go through those 9 books, what I rated them, what I thought of them. So I started off the year not so hot. So I read If You Dare by Harmony West. I rated this 2.5 stars, and I saw it on TikTok, and I saw the premise and I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds so good. They marketed it as like the Devil's Night series, like it's supposed to be a dark romance. You follow like this group of friends, and it was like super dark, and it was dark, I'll give it that, but it was dark in a way that it just wasn't good. So we have our 2 main characters, Violet and Wes, and Violet accidentally kills her best friend, which happens to be Wes's sister, and she obviously feels horrible about what happened, and Wes thinks she is the absolute devil and he can't stand her and he wants to basically ruin her life. So he is going to like seek his revenge on her basically. And as that goes through, I get it that he doesn't like her, but I feel like there's a difference in dark romance when like the main character hates another main character and they are mean to them, and that I kind of vibe with. That I'm okay with, because most of the time you're also in their point of view where like that they hate how much they like them. Whereas this one, there were some very questionable things that happened to our FMC while the MMC is present, and he just doesn't care, and I just couldn't get behind that aspect of it. I thought like it made me kind of feel ill. Like, I don't know how she would want to be with this person with everything that's going on. So for me, that kind of fell flat in the aspect of like, oh, it's supposed to be so dark and so like messed up, which I get, but it just, maybe I'm too soft nowadays, but I didn't vibe with it at all. So I don't think I'm going to be continuing on with the series. Because I think I originally saw it based off of book 2, because I think book 2 or book 3 is Step Siblings, and I was like, ooh, that sounds really good. But I just couldn't get behind this. The writing style was okay. The story didn't intrigue me. I can't tell you a single other character's name, so I don't even know who the other books might follow. So it just wasn't a book I will gravitate towards, or like a series I will gravitate towards in the future. Then I read The Good Lie by A.R. Torrey. So I rated this book 4.25 stars, and I was pleasantly surprised by this one. So I listened to this one, and this follows, I believe, a defense attorney and a psychologist. 6 kids are murdered, and then the 7th one ends up getting free, and he says who has murdered all these people and who kidnapped him and things like that, but something is just not lining up for the defense attorney. So he decides he is going to take on this case while his son was one of the 6 boys that have been murdered. And in order for him to try to prove that this man, who everyone believes is the murderer, is not guilty, he hires Gwen, I believe her name is, who is the psychologist who interviews, or like, what do they do? They not talk to, but like, you know, therapy. I don't know what that would be. But like, you know, she talks to him and to see if like they are capable of these crimes or something like that. And that is all I'm gonna say on that, because it was really good. I was pleasantly surprised by it. I had no idea that the twist was gonna happen like how it did. I was completely shocked, especially some of the points that you get like at the beginning of the book that you completely look over, that you wouldn't even like, I wouldn't at least like look for, or even think it's like a clue or like a tidbit of like who these people are or what they're actually doing. The boy who ends up escaping is also a really good character in this, because I feel like he does such a great job at being like all the trauma that he went through, and then like what that has to do to someone of that age. Like it was so good, and it made you not know who to root for, because like you wanted to root for the boy, then you wanted to root for the defense attorney, and then you wanted to root for Gwen, who is the psychologist, and it was like, I don't know who not to trust and who to trust at any given point in this, and it is definitely a good like psychological thriller if that is what you're in the mood for. Okay, and then a book that I despise, okay, that's a big word, but I also hated this one basically. So then I read Half Your Age, or Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. I read this book 2.5 stars. It was not my cup of tea, shall we say. So this follows our FMC Waldo, I think, and she's 15, 16, 17. She's somewhere in that age range, and she's in high school, and she ends up falling for her creative writing teacher, Mr. Corgi, something like that, in high school. So it's like, it's her teacher basically. And it is gross and disgusting and just very vulgar, which I mean, if that's the point she's going for, I mean, she did it 100%, but I just felt like for me it wasn't a book that like I will be thinking, well, I can't, that's wrong, because I do sometimes think about it, because I'm like, some of the scenes I was like, this is insane behavior, and like I had visceral reactions when reading it. So I mean, it did that, but to me I just felt like it wasn't anything I was rooting for. I didn't like her, couldn't stand him. Her mom was also a little out there. Her friend was something else. And I just felt like the whole time I was reading it, I kept picturing her as our FMC, and it was just grossing me out, and I was like, I couldn't separate the two. You know, I couldn't separate the author from the story, and I don't know if that is a me problem. I have no idea. I read it with 3 of my friends while we were on a cruise, and we all kind of had the same reaction to it. So I also don't know if we were just like feeding off of each other, like, this is insane. Like, we would be like laying out and reading, and we would like, one of us would get to a chapter and be like, wait till you get to this page. Or someone would like be like, oh my god, what is this? And we'd be like, what page are you on? Like, just because it was such it was such a strange read, and it's not a book I'm ever gonna want to read ever again. Then I read His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I rated this book 4.5 stars, and this one was another book that took me by surprise. This follows our 2 main characters, Anna and Jack, and Anna is a newscaster and Jack is a detective, and a woman ends up murdered in their small town, so Jack is obviously the lead detective, and Anna is going to be like the news anchor who is talking about this story, and Jack ends up being a suspect in this murder. And there are a lot of secrets, there's a lot of lies, there's like, I love like that there's his and her side of every story. I thought that was such a good spin on it, and like I love when they use a title like that. I don't know, most books and authors do it, but when there is the title used, I'm obsessed. And that's all the gist I'm going to give you. Go into it as blindly as you possibly can. Maybe search up triggers. I can't remember if anything too well, obviously there's people being murdered, so like, you know, maybe look up that one. I would really just suggest you go in blind if you can and if you will, because it was so good. And like, I remember thinking I knew it like 75% of the way through the book, because I like called my mom and I was like, I know exactly who's doing this. You can't pull one over on me, because she watched the show. She didn't read the book, but they're pretty similar, I would say. I'm just kidding. I don't know that. I don't know that. I watched the first episode and I never watched it again, but I'm assuming they're pretty close, because then we debriefed about like what actually happened, and like my mom basically had the same thing, because I read her like the last 2 chapters of the book on FaceTime, because I was like, you have to know what it was like to read the book, because I was like, Dina, the book is so much better. That's besides the point. And I was shocked. I was flabbergasted by the outcome of the entire story. I highly recommend this one. Then I read In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams, and I read this book 4.5 stars. This is the 4th book in her When in Rome series, and it is the final installment of that series. So this follows our 2 main characters, Maddie and James, and Maddie is a chef in New York, or she's like going to culinary school, and she has just graduated, and she is now going to come home to this small town because James just happens to have a restaurant opening up that he needs a new chef at. So Maddie's like, okay, I guess because I need a job, some things happen in New York that I'm not happy about. I need to kind of have a break from, if you will, because I don't want to give too much away about it. So she comes back to this small town in Kentucky. I think it's Kentucky where they live. And their feelings are going to develop because James has always been in love with Maddie, but just like in secret. I wanted to love this book so much. I wanted to give it 5 stars. I think I've given every other book in this series 5 stars, but I think I'm just in such a bad reading slump in the beginning of the year that just nothing was hitting for me. So like I kind of forced myself to read this one when it came out, and I think I did myself a very big disservice by doing it that way, because I feel like I didn't feel as emotionally connected to the characters. Like I didn't even care that much about like seeing like past characters from books, which makes me so sad, because usually I'm obsessed with Sarah Adams writing. Like this book was good, like there was nothing inherently wrong with it. I think I was just being a stick in the mud, and I just didn't want to read anything, and I was forcing myself to read just because I was like, I need to do something besides just stare at a wall, because I feel like the first few months of this year have been a complete and utter blur. So take that one as you will. I wanted to love it. I still liked it. I just feel like I could have loved it more if maybe I would have waited till maybe like a little bit later in the year, kind of when I wasn't in such a slump. Then I listened to The Predator by Runex. I rated this book 5 stars, of course, because I've read this book before, and I was like, something needs to save me from this slump, and Tristan Kane should do that. Loved it. Loved the book again. Did it help me with my slump? slump, not at all. I binged the whole audiobook and then I was like, well, that was fun, and now it didn't make me want to read more, because I thought maybe if I listened to it, I would want to continue on with the Dark First series, because I have not finished it. I think I've only read book 1, 2, and 3. 1 through 3, maybe 4, not quite sure. So this story follows our two main characters, Morana and Tristan. And Morana is like a literal genius, I guess you could say. And Tristan is some kind of mafia dude in like a rival family. And Morana breaks into his house because she needs to find something, stumbles upon him on accident, and he like has a knife to her throat within the first like 3 chapters of the book. So good. I love when that happens. And they're going to kind of make like a little agreement thing to kind of make sure that they're both covered in a way. I don't want to say too much without spoiling it because it's so good. And that's basically it. They hate each other, but they like each other. She is so smart. And there is nothing I love more than when our FMC is a genius and like no one can pull a fast one on her. Like her dad sucks in this and she is still like outwitting him, and I'm like, yes, you were everything I aspire to be. Like, I love when the women are so smart and so hot and just so powerful without it being like a in your face type of power. Delicious. Love it. And I love this book. You should definitely read it if you have not read it yet. Okay, so this next one I'm going to talk about, I need you to take with a little bit of a grain of salt, okay? Because this is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. This gets a little crazy. I was trying to like jog my memory on kind of like what the main summary is. So I was on Goodreads, and let me tell you, everyone was rating it 1 star, okay? Which I get because it's questionable, but I was fine with it. Whatever. It is what it is. So I read Balance by Lucia Franco. I read this book 4 stars. So this is the first book in the Off Balance series, and it's about a gymnast and a coach, and there is an age gap. And when I tell you there's an age gap, I mean there's a questionable age gap where I'm not sure if it's legal. Okay? So that's why a lot of the reviews are 1 star, because it's a very uncomfy subject, I guess. But in my mind, I kind of put her a little bit older. Like, I can't remember what the age gap really is. I know she is a teenager. Like, she's obviously above, like, 13. I don't know for sure her age. I want to say she's maybe 16, 17, something along, maybe 15, and he is in his 30s. But I want to preface this by I'm almost positive nothing happens until it's a correct age, but he meets her when she's like 15 or 16, and then he is her gym coach for like the year and a half or whatever it is in the book, where there are feelings that are developed throughout that. And I really liked it. That sounds so crazy after I just basically said how kind of messed up it is, but I did like it. Sue me, I guess. Don't actually sue me, I have no money. Yeah, so if you want to pick it up, definitely do so. I mean, I had a good time with it. They fight it. The forbidden aspect of it makes it very fun. I was loving it. There's a few scenes in particular that I was like, making me a little hot and bothered. I think it's because it's the forbidden aspect of not acting on it, but having those like little touches of like the brush of the hand or something like that, like, or like, nope, I'm not even gonna get into never mind. It'll get flagged. I'm not even gonna bring that up. It's all on KU, I believe. I think I read it on Kindle Unlimited. So I think I'm gonna be continuing on with the series. I just don't know when. The ending was shocking and I was a little frustrated. I'm spoiling the end of the book. What am I doing? Okay, I just spoiled like the end of the book because I just kept rattling on, and I was like, let's not do that. So I'm gonna have to just jump cut it wherever I started rambling again. But it's definitely a book that I think is not everyone's cup of tea, but if it kind of piques your interest, check it out, then give it, and keep an open mind when you're reading it, okay? Reading is subjective. It's not for you, don't read the book. But it was for me and I liked it, so 4 stars. Then I read Meet Your Match by Candy Steiner, and I rated this book 3 stars. I originally had it at 4, but I did just drop it to a 3 because after I was thinking about it more, I didn't like it as much as I originally thought I did. So this follows our main character, Maven, and she is a social media, I don't know what they're called. What's a social media person called that they're not like an influencer, but they kind of like post about, I don't know. Is it an influencer? We're gonna say it's an influencer. I don't know if that's actually the correct term or not, but she does social media. She posts about stuff that they do in their town that they're in. I think it's Tampa. I could be wrong. And she is from a family who, I want to say gives all their money away, but that's not the correct term either. What are they called? Like when they always they live like well below their means, and they like are always volunteering for stuff. A philanthropist? Maybe that's it. That also could be wrong, so don't quote me on that either. So while doing this job, she runs into this hockey player named Vince, and she immediately hates him because her ex-boyfriend was some rich and famous golfer. is he a golfer? He's something in the sports world. So she really thinks anyone with money she cannot stand. She hates them. She wants them out of her face. So she meets Vince. She posts the picture with them and it ends up going viral. So her job is like, hey, let's do an all-inclusive access to Vince's personal life. You follow him around 24/7 and get the behind the scenes of what his life is like. And obviously as they spend more time together, feelings are going to develop. And let me tell you why I rated 3 stars. So I originally finished the book. I was like, okay, 4 stars, it's fine. It was good. Vince was cute. I liked the reformed playboy aspect of it. He was sweet at times and like was way nicer than I think he ought to be at times as well, because Maven sucked the life out of me. And I remember reading it and I was like, she is just one of those characters that I just don't vibe. I don't know what it was about her. I found her super annoying. She tended to be extremely rude to our MMC, which is fine if you want to be mean, all for it. But she was mean in a way that like wasn't fun or exciting. It was more like just kind of evil and like very much stuck in like, I think all of these people in this certain group are terrible individuals, and since you are in that group you are also a terrible individual, and I'm going to tell you to your face every day how much of a terrible individual I think you are. And I'd be like, that really bothered me for Vince to be like, okay, I'll try again, okay, I guess. So that's why I rated it 3 stars, because I couldn't get over how bad Maven sucked as an FMC. Then I finished out my month listening to Starshipped by Cat Sebastian. I rated this book 3 stars and it wasn't a book for me. It was not it for me. So this is a MM romance where they are both co-stars on this sci-fi show, and one of their contracts is ending. So he's like, I am going to dip on this show, yada yada yada. And everyone thinks he's a very hard individual to work with, so that's why everyone thinks he's leaving. So he decides he's going to make a very public friendship with his one co-star and say like how much they get along and how great they are. And they end up like doing like a little road trip because one of their family members is in trouble, or they're having family trouble, so they need to go visit them. And throughout that they kind of have a little relationship with that, and they actually kind of find out that they like each other and they have more in common than they thought they did. It was a good premise of a story. I think the audiobook is what did it for me. I think it was very confusing and it really also bothered me. And like I'm trying to think back of like when I read like For the Fans and things like that, and I don't know if it's because this book was in 3rd person and like For the Fans and most of the other books I've ever read are 1st person, that in the audiobook they constantly said their names and it drove me nuts. And I don't know why it irked me so bad that they'd constantly be like, Simon said, Simon did it, Charlie said this, Charlie said this. And I don't know if they were just trying, because I don't know, can you not use like, if you used he and he, would it get confusing? I don't know, but it bothered me so much. I was like, why are we saying Simon's name 15 times in the past 30 seconds of this audiobook? It was driving me crazy. I don't know what it was about it, but oh my lord, I was losing my marbles. And like, it didn't make it better. Like, I would try to listen to it like 2 times speed, and that was driving me nuts even more. And then I tried to do it like 1.5. It was driving me nuts even more. And then at certain points, I didn't even know what was going on. I tried to do it like at just the regular speed of the audiobook, and that was like watching paint dry. Whew, just wasn't it for me. But I really enjoyed like the premise of the story, so I feel like if I would have eyeball read it instead of listening to it, I might have enjoyed it more. So if you're gonna pick up this book, maybe do the physical book instead of the audiobook. Okay, so those were the 9 books that I read in Q1 of 2026. I am hoping the rest of my year picks up because I have a reading goal of 100 books. And come middle of July, your girl, and probably to August, your girl is gonna be a little busy. So I'm trying to start my reading back up so I can be ahead of my goal, which I don't think I am, or even close to being, but that's fine. I'm just also hoping that I'm reading better books in April, in May, in June, and then the rest of the year. Let me know what you read in Q1. Let me know if there's any books that I need to keep on my radar, any books that you think would really pull me out of a slump. I am all ears. I would love to know your thoughts and all of your opinions. And as always, thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Love yous!